There is a big difference between being liked and being respected. Most men these days spend their entire lives trying to be liked. But the men who command a room, the men other men listen to, the men people naturally follow, listen, they have earned something far more powerful than just being liked, and that is respect. And the truth is, respect is not given. It is built day after day. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to break down exactly how you become the kind of man that other men respect. It's like what Drake says. He's got a lyric. When I say bitch, I'm very rarely referring to women. Most of the bitches I know are, they not even women, right? And it's talking to this fact that there is just so many men talking, and not enough men actioning and actually following through on what they say they're going to do. And they just explain their plans. They try to convince people of who they are. And respect is built, and men who are respected don't need to do that because their actions speak for them. And listen, I get it. I used to be that guy. Lots of talk, very little action. But for the men that gain respect, they train, they work, they show up no matter how they feel, they execute. They're consistent because consistency builds credibility, and credibility is what builds respect. So talk less, do more. Now, this is one of the most important traits that you can develop as a man. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. No excuses, no delays, no negotiating with yourself. All of these are viewed as excuses, especially from other men who are high value or who do respect themselves and understand the game of masculinity. You don't get to have the excuses on hand, not when you are trying to gain self-respect and the respect of other men. That is one of the things that you have to sacrifice, is any sort of excuses, any sort of victim behavior, any sort of victim mentality. No excuses, no delays, no negotiating with yourselves. Okay, most men today break promises to themselves daily. And every time they do, what actually happens internally is they weaken their identity, who they think they are. But the man who keeps his word becomes dangerous because people know that they can rely on him. They understand that I would like to go to war with this dude. This dude is respected. He is reliable. Because respect has to have pressure. It can only be built under pressure. When things go wrong, when stress hit, when chaos shows up. That is where most men fold. They panic, they react emotionally, okay? But respected men, they stay calm, they think clearly, and they take control of the situation, because strength is revealed when things get hard. Anyone can show up when they feel like it. Anyone can do things when they're motivated. What really matters is when you feel unmotivated. Now, on to the next thing. You have to have standards. Respected men are not available to everyone. They do not tolerate disrespect, whether that's in relationships or friendships. They don't chase approval. They don't lower their standards just to fit in. They choose who they spend time with. They are very discerning about who they let into their lives because they understand that they are the ones who teach other people how to treat them. That is what having standards does. That is what having boundaries does. And so they walk away when something doesn't align. Standards create boundaries, and boundaries create respect. And when someone disrespects your boundaries, you have to walk away. Otherwise, you're teaching them, hey, Dylan, he's not going to do anything, so we can treat him this way. Now, most respectable men are building something bigger than themselves. And we respect that. We respect the man who's out there building a business, building a career, building a physique. We all understand this. All you men listening to this, you get this. You understand this, okay? Men respect men who are building. Whether that's a business, a career, a physique, a skill set, something. We don't respect the guy who just does whatever he feels and sits on the couch and eats potato chips and plays video games. A man with no direction is invisible, but a man building something meaningful automatically stands out because progress commands attention. And guys, you are living through the softest generation of all time. 90% of men are undateable. They're not building anything. They're comfortable. They're overweight. Okay? They don't have control over their emotions. It has never been easier to become a savage. Dana White. Now, next thing is, you don't seek validation. A man who respects himself does not seek validation, and this is where most men fail. They're looking for approval. Their whole world is built around approval. They want people to like them. They adjust their behavior to fit in. But respected men do not operate that way. They're grounded, they know who they are, and they don't need constant validation. Because they don't chase approval, people respect them more. They understand that they're unshakable. They don't change their opinions based on who's in the room. Think about that guy who changes his opinions when he's on dates or when a girl is around. You lose respect for that guy. You're like, stand up for yourself. Hold your opinions. Hold your beliefs. You're seeing this play out culturally and on a social level, right? Men are starting to find their voice again. We've been told for 20, 30, 40 years that we are not allowed to speak, that it's our time to sit down and shut up. And I'm telling you that that's not the case. For respectable men. Men who respect themselves and men who other men respect have a voice. They have values. They know their boundaries. They know their worth. Okay? And they stand by it. They don't shift based on, they're not chameleons shifting based on who is in the room. Next one, you are physically capable. This is the foundation. This should have been dot point one. Physical presence matters. It always has, and it always will. A man who trains his body signals to other men that he's disciplined. He has strength, capability, readiness, okay? Now, you don't need to be the biggest guy in the room. You don't need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you should look like a man who can handle himself. That is really important because physical weakness, it's very difficult to respect. I've seen it happen over my 20s. I'm now 31 years old. A lot of the guys that I used to respect, a lot of the guys that were in physically good shape, get fat and lazy. And I look at them and I just go, man, what are you doing? Like, you're not someone that I want around. You're not someone that I can rely upon. You're signaling to me that you lack self-respect. So why would I respect you? The next one is around leadership. Okay. Now, this isn't a title, it's behavior. Respected men are constantly stepping up. They make decisions, they take responsibility, they guide others, they don't wait to be told what to do. They move first and others follow. Now, a part of being a good leader is knowing when to follow, 100%. And we don't want to fall into the tyrant king, okay? But for those guys that you look up to, think about the men that you respect. They're leaders. They're not looking for other people to take responsibility. They're not looking to abdicate that responsibility to other people. They're taking responsibility, they're making decisions, and they're going forward with those decisions. And then they bear the consequences of whatever those decisions come with. Now, in closing, boys, men, respect is not something that you ask for. There's a great scene in the TV show Game of Thrones where Joffrey is having a meltdown and his grandfather, who really is a great archetype of that king energy. You know, he wasn't a great bloke either, but I digress. And Joffrey's having this meltdown. He screams something like, "Because I am king." And the grandfather, I can't remember, Tyrion Lannister, I think his name was. Tywin Lannister, that's right. Tywin Lannister turns to him and goes, "No true king has to tell anyone that he is a king." So it's not something that you ask for. It's not something that you demand. It's something that you embody yourself through your behaviors, through living your values, through discipline, through consistency, through standards, through action. And if you build those traits, you won't need to ask for respect. You won't need to demand respect. It will be obvious. People will respect you, and those that don't, you will remove from your life. Now, boys, men, if you want to become a man who is respected, trusted, and followed, that is exactly why I built the Apex Order, a brotherhood of men committed to discipline, leadership, and becoming elite. Okay, elite. And if you want more conversations like this around masculinity, power, building your inner authority, subscribe because we are just getting started.